Youth Elevation Ministry cometh with a new theme. Have you ever experienced a moment of feeling abandoned or forgotten despite your unwavering faithfulness? The sentiments and emotions expressed in Psalm 44 might deeply resonate with you in such times. This psalm is a heartfelt plea to the divine from individuals who feel forsaken. It's a hymn from the sons of Korah, the Levites serving in the tabernacle and later in the temple. The psalm's initial verses vividly portray the miraculous deeds that God performed for their ancestors, such as displacing nations and establishing Israel in the Promised Land. These acts were not accomplished by their sword, but through the strength of God's right hand, his arm, and the radiance of his face. It's a joyful recollection of instances when God's favor was palpable and his blessings plentiful. Verses 9 through 16, however, reflect a stark contrast. The psalmist laments that God has rejected and humiliated them, making them a reproach to their neighbors, a laughingstock among the nations. The psalmist doesn't understand why this is happening because they have not forgotten God or turned their backs on his covenant. Verses 17 through 22 express a deep sense of injustice. The psalmist insists that even in the face of suffering, they have not forgotten God. They feel like sheep being led to the slaughter, yet they continue to hold fast to their faith. The psalm concludes with a desperate plea in verses 23 to 26. The psalmist implores God to wake up, to rise up and help them because of his unfailing love. Now, what are the moral lessons from Psalm 44? First, it teaches us that it's okay to question and cry out to God in our suffering. God can handle our doubts, our fears, and our frustrations. He wants us to bring our whole selves to him, not just the parts that we think are acceptable or religious. Second, it reminds us that faithfulness to God does not exempt us from suffering. The psalmist was faithful, yet they still suffered. This is a hard truth, but it's a part of life. Third, it encourages us to remember God's past faithfulness. Even in the midst of suffering, the psalmist recalled how God had helped their ancestors. This can give us hope when we're in the middle of our own struggles, and finally, it assures us that God's love is unfailing. Even when we can't see it, even when we don't feel it, God's love for us never changes. In conclusion, Psalm 44 is a powerful expression of faith in the face of suffering. It teaches us that it's okay to question, to remember God's past faithfulness, and to hold on to the truth of his unfailing love. And most importantly, it reminds us that we are not alone in our struggles. We have a God who hears, who cares, and who is always with us. Let's quickly recap what we've learned from Psalm 44. First, it's okay to question and cry out to God in our suffering. Life has its ups and downs, and it's all right to express our emotions openly in front of God. Secondly, we are reminded to hold on to the memories of God's past faithfulness. These memories serve as our anchor and strength during challenging times. Lastly, the psalm encourages us to hold on to the truth of his unfailing love, a love that never ceases, never diminishes, and is always present. Remember, no matter what you're going through, you're not alone. Reach out, speak up, and keep the faith. Your journey is yours, but you don't have to walk it alone. God is with you every step of the way.